What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In the last video, I finished up the final couple of installs. I installed the new FIC 1440 injectors and a new radium fuel filter. I've obviously done a lot more to the Evo, so I am going to try to do a rundown of the parts list. But as you can see, I do have my laptop out. So that means it is time for tuning. I have already downloaded EvoScan previously and run a data log on the Evo. However, I did buy a new laptop. I am gonna have to re-download it on the new computer. The last data log that I ran was about a year ago, so it has been a while. Since I am having to start from the beginning, I am gonna try to make this video as detailed as possible. Hopefully we get this thing tuned. Stay tuned. For anyone who isn't familiar with the channel or isn't caught up on the build, I'm going to do a little parts list. Starting with the intake, it's an ETS intake, stock MAF housing. It goes into a Boost Labs built 60mm turbo. It comes out into the ETS charge pipes here, all the way down to the front mount ETS intercooler. It continues on with the ETS charge pipes all the way around to the intake. I have my tile blow-off valve. From the intake, I do have, like I said, the FIC 1440 injectors. It has a Walbro 450 pumping into them. I did put all new spark plugs in. A few other little goodies, like I said, I'll be running Flex Fuel. It has an Exigent Solutions Flex Fuel kit. I also have a DIY catch can setup on the top and on the side over here. Grim Speed 3-port boost controller. Coming out of the exhaust, you see the MAP tubular manifold. Goes down into the MAP recirculating downpipe. Underneath, it's kind of dark, but you can still see it. ETS catless test pipe. And then to finish it up the rest of the way is the private label manufacturing titanium exhaust. That should be everything performance-wise. I may be forgetting one or two things. To get this process started, the first thing that you want to do is download EvoScan and ECU Flash. Just simply go to evoscan.com, click on shop. First one right here, EvoScan software, and that's the one we're going to buy. I've actually already bought it, so we don't need to go through that process again. If you are going to be doing a flex tune, you're also going to need this Tefra mod. I actually bought it through my tuner, so I didn't have to buy it separately through here. Either way, you're going to spend an extra $100. Once you order it, EvoScan will send you this. It's from Limitless Designs. Once you click on the email, it will actually give you a registered serial number. You see I'm covering mine up here. You just click on this and you land on this page. It will actually give you multiple options. You're basically going to download them in order. We're not going to do this bottom one down here. This is just a previous version. This first download is just the framework, and then the second one is actually ECU Flash. The third is EvoScan. Just go ahead and download all of these. Once you have a tuner, send them all of your mods and they will send you your base map. So right here is my base map, and then here is the Tefra mod that they sent me. I'm going to download each of those. Then what I've got to do is get the Tefra mod into ECU Flash. We're going to go to this PC. We're going to go to our C drive, program files, x86. Going to find the open ECU Flash. Click on this ROM metadata. We're going to go to Mitsubishi Evo. This is where all of the XML files are located, so I'm just going to take this Tefra mod, I'm going to drag it down in here and just drop it into place. You'll see it pop up down here at the bottom now. Open up ECU Flash. Once ECU Flash is opened, I can open ROM, open it up. I keep getting this error. I'm not sure what's wrong, but it will not open the ROM. I've deleted and re-downloaded ECU Flash a couple of times now, and I'm still getting the same error. I'm going to try hooking it up to the car and see if that actually makes a difference. To eventually flash the tune on the car and run my data logs, I'm going to be using this Tactrix 2.0 cable. You would normally just connect it into the ECU from under the dash here, but I've got a little extension that runs over to the passenger side. This makes it a little bit easier so that I can have my laptop over here. I'm going to go ahead and plug this up. You can see the lights come on when it's actually plugged in. Then I'll connect the USB in to the laptop. Car's turned on, engine is obviously not running, but it's still getting the same error over here. Issue is fixed, however, it did take me a while to figure this out. For anyone else doing this, you're probably going to encounter this. It may be because my Tactrix cable is a little bit older. Basically, long story short, the drivers just needed to be updated. You can download ECU Flash, but before you actually install it, you want to make sure that the car is turned on and that your Tactrix cable is plugged into the ECU and plugged into the laptop. And then as it installs it on your computer, it will update the drivers on that also. As soon as I did that, I can now open ECU Flash, and then I can open my ROM up here as well. So if I go to File, Open ROM, click on it and hit Open, it actually populates over here for me now. Now with the key in the on position and I've got my tune all loaded up, I can go ahead and flash it. So it's going to be this little red one right up here at the top. We'll just click it and just click OK. And it is flashing. The tune is flashed on there. I'm completely done with ECU Flash now, so I'm going to go ahead and close that out, and then I'm going to open up EvoScan. A few things you want to make sure you check on here, so make sure you do have the Open Port 2.0 checked, And then since this is an Evo 10, we're going to be doing the 2006 Plus. When I did my initial log, I used this Golden 2010. That's what the ECU uses. But the tuner uses this Rax Fast Logging. I am doing a flex tune with E-85. I also have to log ethanol percentage. You have to right click on the data items, click on edit data items. You'll input all of your ethanol percentage stuff here. After you've input all of the information, it should look just like this, and then you can click OK and it'll add it to the bottom down there. So you can see down here now we can log the ethanol percentage as well. Last thing that I have to do is get the wideband hooked up so that I can log my AFRs. First thing that I'm going to need is the serial cable that came with the wideband. It just plugs into this harness coming out of the gauge. Just make sure you do plug it into the out and not the in. You do have to buy an extra cable. I got this one off of Amazon. It's a serial to USB so that it can actually transfer everything onto the laptop. These will plug in there just like that. And then my USB will plug into the laptop. Everything should be fully connected up. I should be ready to run my first data log. The tuner just wants a couple of minutes on idle. Once he gives me the go ahead, I will do another 10-minute idle, and then I will do a 20-minute cruise. I'm gonna go ahead and hit start data logger here. Turn my wideband on. Because I got the Innovate wideband, I do need to select this one right up here. Everything seems to be logging correctly. My wideband is actually logging up here. I'm gonna let this run for just a couple of minutes, stop the data logger, and then I will send it to the tuner. It's the next day. Tuner said my 2-minute test log looked good, but one thing that I did forget to do was plug in the flex fuel sensor. Seat just pops up on both sides from right here. If we lift this up, you can see right here is where the fuel pump goes in. Just lift this guy up right here. This is the plug that's going to go in, and then this is the one that's going to come out. Pull this little pin. New harness plugs into this one right here, just like that. Pull our little clip back on. We'll just tuck it away right over there. I'm just going to do basically what I did yesterday, just run another data log, except this time it'll be for 10 minutes on idle and then a 20-minute cruise. I sent in both of my data logs, the idle and the cruise, to the tuner. He sent me back my first revision. It's just another idle and cruise log. I'll load the new map on, and then I will do a 3-minute idle and then a 10-minute cruise on this one. Sent in my revision 2 idle and cruise logs. I'm about to load up revision 3 now. He just needs a 2 to 3 minute idle log. Idle logs are finished. I sent the last one to the tuner yesterday. He said that I could actually do my first pull today. The car out, put it in 3rd gear, and then do a pull from 3,500 all the way up to 7,000. The tuner said that he actually needs 2 logs. I just finished running the first 2 3rd gear pull logs, so I wanted to look at the data. The main things that I wanted to look at was to see what kind of boost I was hitting, because I didn't know what wastegate spring pressure was in there. Column U is the boost column, so it looks to be 21 is the max. Tuner was quick this time. He already sent me a revision, so I'm gonna get this loaded onto the ECU, and then I'll do 2 more pulls. Back at the house, I ran both of my logs on revision 4. However, I did forget to record the first one. Here's my boost over here. Again, I'm still hitting around 21. I got the next revision from the tuner, but one of the questions that he asked me was if my spark plugs were gapped right and if they were new. These are the old spark plugs that I pulled out. They are the same ones that I put back in though. They are the NGK Iridium. You can see here, this is the feeler gauge. This is the one that says 0.024. It is way too big to fit in there. I went down a size to the 0.022. That one is also way too big to fit in there. The 0.020 actually slides right on in, just barely. Here's a second one that I tried out. The 0.22 does not fit in at all, but the 0.20 fits right on in there. I am gonna go ahead and pull the new spark plugs out and check what the gaps are. Once I know the gaps are good, I will load the new tune on there, and then I will go do a couple more data logs. I pulled all 4 spark plugs. All 4 spark plugs are good to go. It's weird because the NGK website actually says that these plugs are supposed to be pre-gapped at 0.024, but all 4 were actually already gapped at 0.020. The next size up that I have is a 0.022, and I could not get that one to fit in between any of the gaps. I'm going to go ahead and go run a couple of data logs on the revision that he sent me, and then I will let him know that the plugs are good. Tuner just sent the 6th revision. He's basically saying that I'm getting a little bit of knock. He's got the timing pulled back quite a bit and it's only running on 20 PSI. He said that it's possibly just very poor fuel quality. He said that there's also a chance that it could just be false and picking up something in the engine bay. I didn't go look at the data logs myself just yet. I'm running out of time, so I want to get one more pull in. And then when I get back from doing these 2 logs, I will actually compare them and check the knockout. That I'm going to be calling it quits for today. Done enough data logs. I also had to take the dog to the vet in between doing all of them. It's been a couple of days. I got a new revision from the tuner, but I wanted to go over some of these data logs. This is one of the revision 5 data logs. This is one of the ones that the tuner was saying was showing a lot of knock. Here's what I'm looking at in this column Q. It's knock sum, and I'm also going to be looking at column U, which is the boost. I'll also be looking at column R, which is the RPM. Scroll down quite a ways because you can see here there's still no knock. If we keep going, this is where it kind of starts to come in. At about 5,500 RPM, it looks like it's getting a knock count of 2. Scroll down just a little bit more. This is where it always picks up the most. It's anywhere between 6,000 and 6,500, but you can see here where all the knock counts are at. Over here, you can see we're pretty much at peak boost up here, then it starts to taper off. This is one of the revision 6s. If we scroll down all the way with this one, knock count is not bad at all. It actually kept zeros pretty much the entire way. Not exactly sure what he changed in the map, but it definitely made a difference. I'm gonna get revision 7 loaded onto the car and then we'll go do some more data logs. Tuner said everything looks good, so I am flashing the 8th revision now. Tuner said everything looked good. He cranked the boost up a little bit. I think 25 was the peak that I saw. Going to load revision 9 on here, and again, a couple more logs. Tuner says everything looks good. He wants me to actually go out and find a good stretch and do a race pull now. We'll be starting in 2nd at about 4,500 RPM, taking it all the way through the top of 4th. It's been a few days. The tuner was out of town for a little bit and I finished tuning on 93. Tuner said everything looked good. Everything definitely felt good. So it is now time for the E-85. This jug right here I bought a while back. So this is the one that's actually full. This one I bought also, but it is brand new and it's empty right now. I did have to look online in some of the Facebook groups to see where the best E-85 was at. Tuner says I need to be at least 65%. I bought this little test vial a few years ago when I had the Focus ST. I had planned on doing some ethanol with it, but I never ended up doing it. Just gonna fill it to the bottom line with some water. Then I'm just gonna suck up a little bit of the E85 and squirt it and fill it up to the top line up here. All of your ethanol should settle at the bottom. You can see here once everything separates, there's a clear line to tell you what percentage it is. Stuff does seem to be pretty spicy. E85, 85% would be at this line right here. It's actually a little bit above it. Very, very happy to see this. Before I can fill up the tank, I do have to drain out the pump gas. So all I'm gonna do is just remove the return line, pull this clamp right here back some. Here's what I've got rigged up to actually drain the fuel. I only have a 2-way splitter. I didn't have one that just goes in and out. T-adapter, this end over here is actually blocked off. I've just got a screw in it. Wiggle this off and pop it loose. I can connect it onto my T-piece here. I should just be able to crank the car up now, and then all of the return fuel will just drop down into my jug. Had a little bit of a leak on the one that I plugged off. I'm just kind of holding it shut and it's holding the leak. You can see where all the fuel is just dumping back into the gas can. I did have a little bit more than a quarter of a tank, so it should be just enough to fill this thing all the way back up. Refuel light came on. Should be completely empty anytime now. And there we go. Now that I've got all of the pump gas drained out, there is going to be a little bit of residual pump gas left in the filter and the lines. Not going to connect this back up just yet. I'm going to go ahead and dump just a little bit of the E-85 in there. I'm going to start the car and just kind of let it push all of this through, and then I'm going to dump it back into this little small can. Since it's going to be a mixture of E-85 and pump gas, I don't want to get it all mixed up. See my ethanol gauge here climbing very quickly. Everything's draining exactly how it should be. I'm just gonna wait, let the car trickle out and die again. I may have to refill it up a little bit more and then do this again. I'm gonna get my return line reconnected. I'm gonna dump the rest of the jug of E85 in there. Tank is completely full with E85 now, but it was a process. 79% is what it actually came out to be the final. These little vials here are not perfectly accurate. It can kind of give you just a quick glimpse of what it's gonna be. The station that I actually got the E85 at said that it runs anywhere between 51% and 83%. It's not too far from me, so very happy at 79. As far as draining all the old pump gas out, removing the return line is definitely the way to go. I drained it completely and let the engine die about 3 different times. After the first time, I filled the tank up about halfway with the E85, and then I reconnected the return line so that it would push all the old fuel through the return. I let it idle for a few minutes until it leveled out. I think it came out to around 63% the first time. Just pulled the return line again, drained it again, did the whole process again. Second time, it landed on about 74%. Drained it down completely one more time and then refilled it all the way the third time. 79% is where we're at. Because the process for tuning is pretty much the exact same for 93, it's just running all the same data logs. I went ahead and did the idle log and the cruise log off camera. It is the weekend. I went ahead and sent them over to the tuner. As soon as he gets back to me, says idle is good, I will take you guys on for the first pull. Tuner sent me back one revision for one more cruise log, which I already did. Just like with the 93, he wants 2 pulls on the same revision. Sent me my first pull revision, so I'm gonna load it on here and then go do 2 more logs.
Is it fast?
What's that?
Is it fast?
Not yet.
Are you getting it?
We're working on it.
Working on.
Turner said revision 11 looks good. He sent me over revision 12 and 2 more logs. Flashing revision 13 on here now. Just finished flashing revision 14 and a couple more logs. Tuner said everything looks good in my 3rd gear logs. He wants me to go grab 1 race pull log starting in 2nd all the way through the top of 4th, and I should be done. Fuck, I missed that gear. No way. Back at the house, I already sent the race log over to the tuner. I actually did 3 different race pulls. The first time I was at the top of 3rd gear and an 18-wheeler got over in front of me, so I had to shut it down. The second time, which is the one that you actually saw, I completely missed 4th gear, so I hope you enjoyed that. I was so frustrated from the first 2 that I forgot to hit the record button on the one that was actually good. Don't worry though, there will be plenty more pulls in this car on the channel. The biggest thing I'm sure most are curious about is how much power it's actually laying down. I'm gonna pull the laptop out, open up Virtual Dyno, and we can compare some of these logs. I've got all of my logs pulled up in Virtual Dyno, so the first 2 here are the 93 and then the second 2 are E85. I did a data log about a year ago on the stock turbo and the current tune that it had. I could not find the data log, but I did have it on a previous video that I did. You can see here before I did everything to the car, the horsepower was at 315 and torque was at 284 foot-pounds. And if we compare it to the new ones, on 93 pump gas, I'm making around 350 horsepower and 300 foot-pounds. Like I said, the first 2 are the 93. For my E85, I'm making around 450 horsepower and then 360 foot-pounds. The one in the blue here for 93 and the one in the orange for E85, both of those were actually coming uphill just a little bit, so that's why the numbers are a little bit lower. Red and the green were on completely flat straight areas. I did tell my tuner before I started that I wanted it to be tuned conservatively. I was not trying to push things. I don't want to blow a motor. So these numbers could definitely be a little bit higher, but I am very happy with the results. Car feels absolutely amazing. I'm so excited to finally get to drive this this thing. As far as power adders go, I am completely done. Still got a few other cosmetic details that I want to do to it. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please smash that like button. This is a video that I have been waiting to do for a long time. Just incredibly stoked to be done with the tuning. If you want to catch the last few things going on with the Evo, hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you guys next time.